Hi everyone, this is Jim Delapine, and a few of you have had issues with Illustrator and recreating the Eiffel Tower and making it simple. So I feel for you because Illustrator, if you're new to it, can be a bit frazzling. And I think what I'll do is do this video to go over some basics that should help you. So what I did first of all was I went to Google and did a search for Eiffel Tower icons. So I want to go through the process of how I'm going to recreate this. Okay, so you can't simply just bring an image from Google into your logo. Okay, it needs to be recreated in Illustrator or created in Illustrator, and you need to because it's a vector image. Illustrator is a vector-based image, which means that it can be scaled up 2000% or reduced to whatever size without losing quality. If it's a bitmap image or a JPEG image that you would get from Google, you cannot increase the size without losing quality, and that's one of the reasons that all logos are created using Illustrator. So I have an image here that I got from Google. I'll just drag and drop it onto this new document that I created. Okay, so that's one image. If I open up the layers panel, so I'm going to hit F7, I see that it dragged and dropped onto that layer. I'm going to create a new layer and drag another image in. All right, so that's very large. So let me just hide my layer panel. Note that when I dragged and dropped it in here, it came in on that new layer. So let me just hide the layers panel, F7, and I'm going to scale this down. So I'm going to go over some basics that should have been gone over in those tutorials or those videos, but I'm going to probably repeat a few things, and it's certainly worth repeating because retention will help you retain. So I'm going to go to any corner. Okay, it has to be a corner. It cannot be a middle bounding box. So any corner, I'm going to click and start dragging it to scale it down. As I'm dragging, I need to hold down the Shift key. That will constrain the proportions. If I don't, it will distort it. Okay, so Shift key will constrain the proportions. So I'm going to now let go with my cursor first and then let go of the Shift key. Then I can click on the edge and reposition this to whatever I want. Okay, so let's just say we'll stick with that. Okay, so these are certainly simple. So you can trace these and recreate these and then copy and paste them into your logo. So I'm going to go through the process of how to do that. So if I bring up my layers panel again, I see that I have, let me hide this layer, so I see I have this here. All right, so I mean, this is relatively simple, so I'll go through this process of recreating this. All right, so here's the thing. If I go to my tools bar here, all right, let me just drag this over here. Oh, actually, you can't see that. Let me just bring this into the viewing area. And, okay, well, you should be able to see that. So you can see that if I create a shape, right, I'll just go to the rectangle box and create a shape, okay? That shape, it now has a fill of white and a black stroke. If I swap it by clicking on this curved double arrowhead, it swaps it, and now it has a black fill with a white stroke. And the stroke is 1 point thick. You can see right here, okay? So that's a basic. That's what you need to know. So let me delete that, and now go to the pen tool. So the pen tool is a really tricky tool to understand. First of all, let me get rid of these smart guides here. So this is a difficult tool to work with, but understanding this tool is very important because it's the basics of Illustrator. It's how you edit shapes and so on and so forth. So if I just click and drag and start creating a shape, notice what's happening. It's filling with black. All right, I'll just click here and then go back to my path selection tool. It's filling with black because it has a black fill. All right, I can remove the fill by clicking on the None button. All right, so now it has a white stroke. If I click on the stroke to bring that forward, I can double click on that and create any color I want. I could choose red for the stroke and hit OK, and now it has a red stroke. It's a little hard to see because it's very thin, but if I bring up the stroke panel here and make it thicker, you'll see that it's a red stroke. Notice that this is an open path. It's called an open path. It's because I didn't close it. All right. If you want to close a path that you've created, you would go to the pen tool, click on one of your endpoints here. Just click on that last endpoint. As soon as you see that diagonal slash, that means you can click. And then I'll go back here and click on the origin point. As soon as you see the tiny circle, I can now click, and that will close the path. So that's a closed path, which means now you can fill it with whatever color you want. Okay, and you would do that by clicking on the fill color to bring that forward, and then you could select a color from wherever you want. Okay, the color panel happened to be up, but you could double click on this to get access to any color you'd like. Okay, we're dealing with black and white essentially. So if I click on the default white fill black stroke right here, that's what I have. Okay, so that being said, there's other little tricks here. Let me delete this to help you recreate this, for example. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. We're going to work in outline mode. Okay, this is preview mode. If you go to view outline, you'll note that you get a totally different thing, a totally different look. What this is essentially the skeleton version. So if I go back to view preview, let me just create a color here. So this, so now I have a green fill with a black stroke. If I go in here and create a box, all right, it has a green fill, black stroke, but I'm seeing this in preview. All right, if I go to outline, it's the skeleton version of that. Okay, so that being said, it's much easier to recreate or trace something in outline mode. So let's go back to preview. Now the only problem is that this disappears. This bitmap image disappears when you're in outline mode. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to double click on layer 1, not on the name, but on the layer, and you get this layer options box come up. I'm going to select template and then hit OK. All right, so now this is as if I've placed a piece of tracing paper on top of something and I'm going to trace it. Okay, notice it automatically locks and you get a different icon here. Instead of the eyeball visibility, it's a little rectangle that represents template. All right, you cannot edit on this layer. It's automatically locked. So what you would do is create a new layer on top of that by clicking on the new layer icon, and now you can draw. Okay, so let's go over how to do this. And I'm going to essentially be working with the pen tool, but I'm also going to bring in some other things too. So with the pen tool, essentially what you want to do is click and drag to create a shape. Okay, so actually I need to backtrack here. If I now go into outline mode, I can now see the image. All right, let me go back to preview. Create this. We see this in preview. Go to outline. Whoops. And now we don't see that fill with color. It's a skeleton version, but we can see this image. The advantage is that now we can draw in outline mode, and you won't get anything covering up the image that you're tracing. So you want to kind of zoom in. All right. So to create this shape, you want to kind of think in terms of basics. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to click here one time, and then I want to click up here. I'm going to go right to about the middle. Click and drag. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling out this handle that allows me to bend this shape. All right. Don't worry about being too exacting with this because you could always go back and edit it. I'll come back up here, click and drag up. All right, because I'm dragging up to form the shape behind me. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is click over here, and don't worry because this is rounding off. We can fix this later. So I'm going to click right here one time, come down to the middle point that's horizontal to this, click and drag. I'm going to come down here and click, and actually right here, if I just click, it should be fine. But let me just click and drag because yours may look different. Okay. All right, so now what I want to do is this. I want to get access to another tool that's called the Convert Anchor Point tool or Convert Direction Point tool. So what I'm going to do is now hold down the Alt key or the Option key, and I get this funny looking icon. And that's going to allow me to take this handle and pull it in this direction. I'm pulling this handle in the direction that I want the path to go. Okay? That's the whole purpose of this. Then I'm letting go with my Alt key or Option key, and then I'm going to click right here to close the path. Notice that little circle. Click. All right? So I have this shape. So if I go to View, Preview, that's the shape I have. All right? So View Outline. I'm not worried about the fill color. All right? So now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to, let's see, what should I do next? I want to edit these shapes here. So you want to click on these anchor points here, all right, but not with the pen tool. All right, so we're working essentially with three tools: the direct selection point tool, or the white arrow, which will directly select anchor points. Okay, not the black arrow. You want the direct selection tool, or that white arrow. So when I click on them, it gives you access to the handles. I'm going to zoom in using the magnifying glass tool. All right, go back to my direct selection tool and note that I have this shape here. I want this to be flat at the top. So I'm now going to get access to this anchor point tool here by holding down my Alt or Option key and pulling this handle down here. All right, so I'm coming straight up across. All right, so let's just say, I'm forgetting about these rounded surfaces here. I'm trying to keep this simple for you. So let's just say I wanted to move these little anchor points here. All right, these little tiny squares. They have to be selected. In order to select these, I want to use my direct selection tool to create a marquee around these. So now only these two are selected, and I can tell they're selected because they're highlighted. Then what I could do is use my up arrow key to move them up a little bit. Okay? I'm using my up arrow key on my keyboard. You can further edit this using the direct selection tool by moving anchor points. Whoops. See, I missed the anchor point. I clicked on the line. So let me undo that, Control Z, and now click right on the handle, and that allows me to reposition the anchor point. All right, I can pull these handles in or out to form my shape here. Okay, so I'm looking at the shape that's, I'm trying to trace the Eiffel Tower underneath. Okay, so, all right, so we have that, and that looks pretty good. So now what we'll do is, so you have a shape here that is kind of looks like a rounded rectangle, right? So let's do that. Let's go to the rounded rectangle tool, and I will click and drag to create that, to trace that. Okay. Let's just say you don't get it right, just delete it and do it again. You know, so you want to click right in the upper left-hand corner, click and drag down, and that looks fine. All right. I also have another shape up here that is a little rectangle, so I'll go to the rectangle tool, and actually another way would be this. Work with the pen tool. I'll click and shift click to create a straight line that comes straight across. The shift key constrains to a horizontal or a vertical. All right, so I'm now going to click here, and click here to close the path. All right, so I've got this shape represented. All right, let me zoom that out. All right, so now I have these shapes here. So let's do this. I want to show you something called the Pathfinder panel. So Window Pathfinder. All right, so Window Pathfinder. All right, so what this does is it can combine images to merge together. Okay, so I'm going to select all of these using the black arrow. I'm going to select all of these shapes. Okay, and I'm going to click on the merge option. So I'm clicking there, and now it merges it all into one shape, and that makes things a little simpler for you. Okay, so now we'll do this. I've got a circle here. Okay, there's actually something I should have done first, but that's okay. I'll show you in this step. So let me go back here and I'll go to the ellipse tool. All right, so we have a circle here. I mean, picture this as being a circle that's cut out of this Eiffel Tower here. So I'm going to start somewhere up here, click and drag down. All right, so to position this or to reposition this, you can use your space bar. I'm holding down my space bar, and now with the cursor held down, I'm repositioning that. letting go of the space bar, I can continue to drag and scroll. So just get it so it matches it as much as possible. All right, and I'm going to purposefully leave this off center. All right, so I'll leave it just like that. So now what you want to do is essentially get this in the mathematical center of this. So I will drag with my selection tool or the black arrow to select both shapes, and I'll go to the Align panel. And then this icon right here, it will horizontally align the center, and it has a little icon that shows you what it will do. So if I click that, notice how this is now in the mathematical center. It kind of has everything go a little off the template. All you need to do is I'm going to hit my right arrow key to move it back to the right. All right, and there we go. So now with both of these selected, I'm now going to work with the Pathfinder tool to subtract this shape from this shape. All right, I never get this right, so you kind of have to experiment with this. So let's just say I'm going to try the let's see, exclude overlapping shape areas. So I think this one might do it. Click that. I don't like that. So I'm going to undo that and try one of these others. Minus the front. Click that, and that was the one. So this one, minus the front, this subtracted the shape that was in front of that Eiffel Tower shape. Okay? So whenever you create a shape in Illustrator, it always comes out on top of the previous shape that you created. Okay? So what I'll do is I'll fill this with black. All right? I have no fill, so I'm going to double click this. Just drag down here. It's now going to be filled with black. I can't see that it's filled with black, but I know it is because of this. Trust what you see here. All right, we're in outline mode, so if I go to preview, you'll see that. All right, so now back in outline mode. So now you have other shapes to create here, to get a cutout here. So I'll do this and think in terms of simple graphic shapes, simple shapes, rectangles, circles. So I'm gonna click and drag a shape that looks like this, okay? And what I did was I looked at the width, I looked at this point right here and this point right here. So it's the width of this space right here. Then I'll go to my direct selection tool, click on the upper right hand corner of this box here, and use my left arrow key to move that anchor point to the left. I'm tapping, 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 tapping. And then I'm going to click on this, select this, and tap that to the right using my right arrow key. Okay, so that'll be one of the shapes, and now I have another shape that goes across here, which is a rectangle. So I'll click and drag across here. All right. Listen, I don't expect you to do exactly this. I'm just showing you different techniques on how you can recreate something using these tools that perhaps were not used. So now I don't know how. Let's see. So let's just say if we do this, if we select these two shapes and make them white, right? So I'll click on the default white fill black stroke, take away the stroke. When I go back to preview, this will look correct. All right, so it looks correct. All right, so that's something that you can stay with that. All right, but the right way to do it is to basically, if I select all these shapes here and now work with the Pathfinder tool, I don't know which one. I know that if I use the trim option, all right, it will trim everything out and you can select and delete elements. So let's see, if I choose minus front, that worked actually. The minus front worked. Okay, so that really simplifies it. All right, so now if I look at that in outline mode, go back to my my layers panel and hide the template, that's my end result. So what do you want to do with this? You want to now select this, copy it, and paste it into your template or wherever you're creating your logo. If you need to scale it, make sure you go to any corner, click and drag down. As you're dragging, hold down the Shift key, all right? And then once you're happy with the size, you let go with the cursor first, okay? So let me hit Control 0 to fit this in the window, all right? Let me drag this over here. So let's just say you wanted to place this in a circle or an arc. All right, so I'm going to, and a lot of logos use this technique. So, I mean, for example, first of all, this is perfect for creating a rectangle for a for a base. All right, so let's just say I create something like that. All right, this is a perfect location to knock out the word bakery, for example. All right, but again, I'd want to select both. Go to my Align palette, View Align. Window Align, and then click on the center, and now it's automatically, mathematically centered this right in the center. So now let's just say I go to my Ellipse Tool. You can, let's say I click and drag, and I'll just create an arc here. I'm not even going to create a circle. If I wanted to create a perfect circle, I would hold down the Shift key as I'm dragging. Okay? And another example, if I want to create a perfect square using the Rectangle tool, clicking and dragging, but if I hold down the Shift key, it will constrain that to a square. Okay, so a technique I like to tell my students is to separate the text. So let's say upper crust would be one font, bakery would be another font, and let's just say I had a circle. I'm going to create a simple circle here, okay? And then I'm going to go to outline mode, Control Y or Command Y or View Outline, and then I'm going to select all three of these, click on the Align, so now they're mathematically centered. So now what you can do with this is this, for example. You can go to, let's say, type on a path tool, okay? So that gives me a funky looking icon. So that means if I click right here on the path, that fill will go away, and it's now a path tool that allows for text. So I just typed upper crust. I'll now double click on it or triple click on it and select a font. Where's my character palette here? So you can select a font. So I'll just, you know, I don't know, let's see here. I mean, it kind of shows you samples in the side here. I'll just select a crazy font here, and then you want to get a point size that's rather large, so you could select it from here. Let me drag my if you're in the text tool and hit Control T, the character panel will come up, and it allows you to select any font size you want as long as it's highlighted, and you can also type in the size that you want. And what's going on here? Let me zoom in here. So I've got the text here. You have to triple click on it, and then why isn't it scaling up? It's not scaling up because I was working with the leading, which is the lines of space in between lines of text. I should be over here. So let's just make this 36. All right, so what you want to do is now control this along the arc. I mean, this is a crazy font, but I'm just showing you the technique. Now, to move this, you would need to go to your direct selection tool, and I covered this in another video for placing text, but let me just repeat it here. So now you can kind of move this along here, but you have to play with this. So first I want to click and drag this over to the left, all right, and this will allow me this text to now slide across the path here. This is certainly not big enough. All right, so let me zoom back out. I'll hit Control Command 0, and the whole idea is to make this so that this is easily readable when it is reduced to a business card size, because you will be doing that. All right, so you just need to get this so that it's visually centered left and right. If you really wanted to center this exactly, you can hit Control or Command R to bring up your ruler panel up top here, and then click and drag a guideline down here. And this is a way to get this text to better line up. It's just a little easier this way instead of trusting your eyes. So you would need to just kind of carefully get in here, and you're gonna have to click, and there you go. All right, so now I would, let's see here. I'm going to scale this up a little bit more. I'm holding that Shift and Alt, or Shift or Option to scale this up from the center point. If it's only Shift, it's going to scale up from here. So Shift and Alt will keep this centered, okay? And then you can type the word bakery in here. So I'm going to stop here because I've gone on long enough, and I hope this helped. All right, take care, guys. Bye.